Hi, my name is Kayla Milner-Raula, and I'm one of the F1 student advisors here at the University of Arkansas. And I want to welcome you to our STEM Extension for OPT presentation about what does it mean for applying for STEM Extension, what are the processes for it, commonly asked questions, and ways to kind of know what your next steps look like now that it's time to start applying for STEM Extension for OPT. So we'll dig right in. If you have any questions or concerns, you know how to contact us via our live chat, or you can always schedule an appointment with us to ask more questions. But just know that a lot of the tools will be linked to these resources here, so you can follow along and keep looking as well. So let's get started. We're going to do a basic review, right? So when you are applying for STEM extension, it means that you currently already hold optional practical training and you would like to continue to work additional time with a STEM extension. So this would be a continuation of F1 student status for certain majors that are also considered STEM OPT. But we really want to get back to the heart of what is optional practical training. It is an optional thing, right? Which means that I don't have to apply for this benefit, but it is one I might qualify for. It has to be practical, so it has to be real life jobs related to our degree of study, and then it's ultimately training. So we're getting those goals and skills, and with a training plan about how it is that we can go and be like the best. While you're on OPT and STEM extension, you are still considered an F1 student status. So we never really have like OPT status. We're always in F1 student status. Now, what is the specifics of STEM OPT, right? It's an additional 2-year benefit if your major is STEM eligible. This is a separate application. So a lot of times students will ask in the very first time of why can't I get all 3 years on the same one? And there's just a little bit of nuance. Every single student, regardless of their major, can apply for optional practical training, whereas only certain specific zip codes on a specific list are what qualify your specific degree to also be STEM eligible. But this will allow you an additional 24 months of work authorization in the United States in F1 student status. So, how do I know if my degree is the one that is eligible? So on page 1 of your I-20, you should see your major on like around the middle of your I-20. And then you're going to see something called like major 1, and then there's a random little set of numbers, or what feels like random numbers on an I-20. That's something that we call is a SIP code, or just like how the federal government views your specific major and would it be eligible for STEM OPT. You can do this by clicking the link and checking on this one. You can also contact our office to get the slides as well. We'd be more than happy to share them with you. And so you can click on these zip codes and then it takes you directly to the website. And if you see your major code, so that zip code, and it's also printed on the list for STEM eligible degrees, that's how one way you could check to see if your degree is STEM eligible. Our office would also be able to look at that for you if you had questions or concerns about it, to also see if it was STEM eligible. So now I looked at my I-20, I feel like I'm ready to see if I'm ready to apply. So when can I really start the process? We all know that if you've applied for OPT, you either had a really fast experience about getting your EAD card, or maybe it took forever to get your first EAD card for OPT. So you're like, I want to apply as early as possible. But we still have some regulations to work around, which we're going to start by first taking our EAD card and taking a look at the card expiration date. So if we look at the card expiration date, whatever is 90 days beforehand would be the very first day that our office could issue you an I-20 for STEM extension. So think about 3.5 months before your EAD card is expired is a good time to start filing your paperwork and then trying to decide, am I in a okay time to submit my information to ISS so that I could go ahead and get my STEM extension I-20 appointment set, right? So then we can look at it 90 days before. Again, if we issue it any earlier than 90 days, then it would be denied. So our office will not issue I-20s before the 90th day, just because we want to do what's best for our students. Okay, now interesting things about STEM OPT. It is a whole new application. So it's not just that like I put an application out there and I don't have to pay again. Unfortunately, it is a whole brand new situation. We have to provide all new documents and a whole new process for it. So we will finish all of the nuances for applying for your OPT extension through the USCIS website. Then another big thing is that you have to have applied for your OPT extension before the end of your EAD card. And so if we go even one day beyond that, it will not be approved by USCIS. So it's very important that as you're applying for STEM extension, that you be paying attention to for sure when my employment end date is, and then how could I be a part of making sure that I'm on top of getting that processed. Now, another nuance is that when you are moving from OPT to like the standard OPT into the OPT extension, some of the rules will change around STEM OPT. So now you're required to have an E-verified employer for any job you want to work on STEM extension. And then if we don't have the work on that one, like we don't have a job or we don't have an E-verified employer, then I wouldn't actually be able to get a STEM OPT, like the STEM extension for the I-20, because it has to be a paid position and I have to be working with E-verified employer and kind of through some of those other nuances when we're going through. Now, also each job I have, again, I have to have an E-verified employer. It has to be a paid position. And then now I also have to work a minimum of 20 hours a week per job. And they all still have to be directly related to my field of study. So it doesn't sound that crazy difference from our normal OPT, but it does put some limitations. So all jobs must be paid, all jobs must be E-verified, each job is a minimum of 20 hours a week, but you could still work for more than one employer as long as you can manage both projects. And then also, all STEM reporting is going to be done now in ISS Link and not in the SAVP portal. So unfortunately, as much as we wish you could make all of your reports the same way in this SAVP portal when you are on your first year of OPT, there are a few more required check-ins and ways that they need updated information. So it will require you to check in with our office more frequently. Okay, now what about some benefits of the nuances of STEM OPT? One is that you can apply for your STEM OPT and be waiting for your card to come in the mail, and you actually could still keep working. So this isn't quite like when you initially apply for OPT, where there's absolutely no work while we wait for the EAD card to come. Because you've already been authorized to work in the United States, there's a couple of things that you would need to be able to keep working for 6 months with your employer, or 180 days is really the exact date, is that you would come to our office once you're in your 90 days before your EAD card expires. Then you would need to be able to get your new I-20. You would apply on the USCIS website. Then you would get that receipt notice that shows that you have a pending USCIS application. And then with your I-20 that shows your recommendation for STEM extension and the receipt number from USCIS, the receipt notice from USCIS that you have a pending STEM OPT extension application, then that's what you can use to keep working for 180 days while you wait for your new STEM employer EAD card to come in the mail. How are we feeling? I know this is a lot of crazy information. And again, we'll talk about it all even in more depth when you come to your STEM extension appointment. So now, how do I start the process? There's going to be similar things that you'll remember from the last time you applied for OPT, and then a couple of new things that you'll need this time. So 3 big steps. First, I'm going to need to collect all my documents. I'm going to need to fill out the forms in ISS Link. And then lastly, you will need to physically schedule an appointment with our office by calling our office or emailing our office to get that booked. We will not issue the I-20 unless you've been able to meet with us so we can review your documents. Now, a new document you may have never heard about is something called the I-983 or the training plan for STEM OPT students. This is a 5-page document. It's filled out with both you and your employer. These documents can be both you and your HR and you and your direct supervisor. It might be a combination of you, HR, and your direct supervisor, whoever feels like most comfortable to fill out those forms or who can fill out these forms. We have also linked 2 different ways to kind of find more information about good tools for how do I fill out the I-983. There's a lot of information on there, and some of these even give you like line-by-line examples of what could be helpful, and how to find information based off of your I-20 and other information from HR as well. Now, one of the things is that when we say, I really have to see this, it is a requirement for us to be able to issue you your STEM recommendation for your I-20. We have to see the I-983. If your I-983 is not filled out, it is not signed, and it is not completed, then we cannot legally give you an I-20, and so you would leave your appointment empty-handed that day. Now, how can I know that I got all of my signatures and all of the ones? Which are the pages I have to apply for my STEM extension? We're really going to need to focus on page 1 through 4. Page 5 should be left blank by the point in time you're applying for STEM OPT. We will help you understand the more nuances of what is page 5 and how do we use page 5 in your actual STEM extension appointment. So we'll kind of give it to you in some bite-sized nuggets. So this is one that we need you to come to your appointment prepared with, and then we'll teach you about what does page 5 mean. Okay, so I know I need my I-983. Then what other documents am I going to need? We're going to need a copy of your passport name page, just the main one that has your name and information and your passport photo on it. Then they are going to prompt you to upload a passport style photo taken within the last 6 months, your most recent I-94, and a scanned copy of the front and back of your current EAD card or any previous EAD card you might have had if you've done OPT or STEM extension before, or any other kind of work authorization that required an EAD card in the past. If you have one, it's great to upload it here as well. Now, one thing that we have seen is that in December 12th of 2025, the United States government decided that they were going to change the photo requirements with USCIS. And so we are seeing many students, whether it be OPT or STEM extension or plenty of other opportunities where you're working on getting an EAD card, where once a student is getting their receipt notice or like their proof that USCIS has their application, they're also getting an appointment scheduled for them to have a photo taken. So they may choose to use your passport style photo, or they might just say everyone right now has to go and sit with USCIS and an appointment to go and get their photo taken. This appointment, if you were to receive it, would be, they would list a place where you would need to physically go in person. Takes about 10 minutes. You go in at your appointment time, you go through security, then they're going to take your photo, and then that would be the picture that they would print on your card. I know from my personal experience about my local time of going to one with my spouse when he was applying for his green card was actually a pretty pleasant experience. I only found people doing kind things to him and treated him with a lot of respect. And I really appreciated seeing that, especially when I know that my students have to go and do this as well. USCIS makes this determination based off of where you are closest to your local field office. So if you're located in Fayetteville or Northwest Arkansas, that'll be Fort Smith. If you're located in another state, then USCIS will find the closest one to you and schedule you an appointment for there. Now, it is critical that you attend that appointment. If you do not attend that appointment, you would not be eligible to keep your OPT or your EAD card, because that's a step that they have to give you your EAD card. So on the information, if you were to get one, you would see the date that they printed on it. If you could not make it to that appointment, you should follow the instructions and reschedule your appointment so that you could make it to that appointment. Okay, so an overview. I need my I-983, my passport, a passport style photo, my most recent I-94, and the front and back of my EAD card. Now, something else that you'll be asked to do, and one thing you will already get for us, and then another one we will give you at your STEM extension appointment. So, one thing that we really recommend is that we used to say that an unofficial transcript could work, but we really recommend that a student print an official transcript from the university. You can get this through Parchment through the registrar to get even a digital copy that you can just automatically upload to your USCIS application. And I really feel like $10 and peace of mind is one of the best ways you can. In the last year, I've seen many students who didn't want to use that and they didn't upload an official transcript, and they got something called a request for evidence. And a request for evidence doesn't mean that you're not going to be approved or things like that, but it does mean that the government gets more opportunities to ask some of those questions that we may be less likely to want to answer. And so to help minimize, like, how long does it take to get it, additional setbacks, and then as well as questions that may or may not be we are so comfortable to answer, then it might be best for you to go ahead and just upload all required documents, including the official copies as well. Now, this proof of institutional accreditation is something that we'll send you that you upload as well. And this one just says that the University of Arkansas can still give out the undergraduate or graduate degrees that we have here at the University of Arkansas, and they meet all of the federal requirements for a student to also get to apply for STEM extension. Okay, now, where do I go to put all of my documents in? So you'll go to ISS Link. If you haven't been to the ISS webpage in a while, it looks a little different. So you go down to ISS Link or iss.uark.edu, navigate to about the middle of the page where you see the ISS Link dot. Then once we're inside of ISS Link, you're going to click F1 Practical Training. Then you're going to do the STEM OPT application. And then you're going to click on the STEM OPT application and fill out the form and upload all required documents. Once all of that is filled in and you click submit, please call our office at 479-575-5003 to schedule an appointment. You can also email us at iss@uark.edu, and they can also work on scheduling you an appointment there as well. So I've gathered all my documents, I've submitted my request to ISS, and then I've scheduled my appointment, and then we meet, we get your I-20, we do all of the fun stuff, you learn all about STEM OPT and expectations ISS has when you're on STEM extension. So then what are my next steps? We're going to go back to come to your appointment, get your I-20, and then we're going to finish our application on the USCIS portal. So you do not have a pending STEM extension request until you have gone to USCIS, submitted all of your information, paid the minimum fee of $470 for the standard application, and then be waiting for our next steps. Now, on average right now, we're seeing that EAD cards could take 4.5 months. The best way to see what is USCIS saying the approximate waiting time is based off of what you see on the USCIS website. And so if it's taking more time than that, honestly, that it would not be that surprising to us. Just right now, the average processing time is 4.5 months with just the standard application fee. We know it's really hard to wait, but we will happy dance with you when it arrives. This is also the time that we can kind of think about a couple of things. That, remember, we have some wiggle room. So if I apply it as early as possible, so that could be up to 90 days before my EAD card expires, Plus, I have 180 days remaining after that EAD card expires if I have my receipt notice and my I-20 with the recommendation that I might be able to really not have to worry about that many days of making that happen. But maybe you have travel plans, or maybe there were other things where you're like, I just really want to have my EAD card in hand and I can't wait this long. Then that might be one of the times where you might consider applying for the premium processing. As of March 1st of 2026, the cost for premium processing is going up by about $125. So if you want to start with the $470 and you're wanting to see your EAD card in less than that 4.5 months of time, then we really recommend that it might be worth your time to think about investing in the premium processing, which would make your whole total $2,250 for the entire application altogether. We can always start on an OPT application for like the I-765 with just the basic fee. And if we feel like we need to move to the premium processing, you can apply for the premium processing at a later time. Now, what do we want you to know about travel? Our office really does not recommend that a student travel outside of the United States with a pending application for OPT or the STEM extension. With traveling with a pending application can be risky to you, and we really want you to have your EAD card in hand to travel back to the United States. Once approved, travel is less risky, but not without any risk. So, especially if you do not have a valid visa, we really recommend you reaching out to our office if you don't have a valid visa and you would be wanting to travel outside of the United States while you're on STEM OPT. Now, when you're traveling in the United States, we still recommend that you keep photocopies as well as hard copies of all of your documents with you at any time that you travel. It's just safe to have. It's like a little insurance policy. So keep your passport, a copy of it, your EAD card, your IDs, things like that. It's always doesn't hurt to also keep soft copies of your documents on your phone. Again, all opportunities that you have just to show who you are. Now, if you were to travel outside of the United States while you were on OPT, on STEM extension, then we'll need you to keep a valid passport, a valid visa, your signed I-20 within the last 6 months, your EAD card, and proof of employment. Your EAD card and proof of employment are what's really going to help you as you come back to the United States to show, one, that you have authorization to work in the United States, as well as an employer to return to. Now, this is something that's new that's come out in about the last year. So if you have any dependents that were entered before the age of 14 here in the United States, they may need to be considered for registration. If you have a question, if you qualify for needing to register, or any of your dependents may need to register, if you Google the form G3205R and then you look it up, there's going to be a way to check to see, do you even need to file? You can check that way to see if you need any of those requirements, and if you do not, you can continue on. Now, what about my grace period? Many times students ask us lots of questions about, well, when's the grace period? And there's so many 60, 30, 90-day questions. So what does this mean? When you're a student who's on OPT and you apply for STEM extension, what we're asking for is that we're going to move my grace period from the end of my OPT EAD card to now, if I move immediately into STEM extension, then my grace period would move to the end of my STEM extension EAD card. So at the end of that additional 24 months of time. That is true as long as we maintain our immigration status, we don't go over our unemployment days, and I continue to just maintain my F1 student status during this time. Now, during my grace period, there's a couple of things that you can do during this time. This is 60 days following the end where you could decide, or you can legally stay inside the United States. It would not come with work authorization, but you could think about, do I want to go back to school? Maybe go to a graduate program or the next step in my graduate program. Do I want to apply for a change of status to any other type of status here in the United States? do I just want to travel around the United States and prepare to depart the United States? I have crazy job offers somewhere outside of the US. I have responsibilities at home I'm going to go ahead and move back for. Lots of different things that can happen during this period of time, as well as you might start a new program with us here at the University of Arkansas. All are different opportunities that you have, as well as many others, but these are just ones that are commonly with your F1 student status. So this is kind of as we think about it. One thing that we do want you to also just be kind of highlight here so we can talk about it a little more is what about the reporting requirements? So instead of doing the SEVP portal, we're going to come back to ISS Link and go ahead and finish filling things out. So we go to the F1 practical training, then STEM OPT reporting, and then any kind of STEM reporting you need to do. Like I live out of state, and so I need to physically upload my EAD card. That'd be great. Then, did I end any kind of STEM employment? There's going to be a form. Do I need to add a new STEM employer or make changes to my current STEM employer? There's a way for you to fill out that information. Or there's also going to be something called your every 6-month required STEM reporting. And this one's a really big difference from OPT to STEM extension. So you're going to be given a calendar at your STEM extension appointment that walks you through all of the steps of when is your reporting deadline? What kind of questions are you going to be asked? You can even look through those forms now. And then we'll also help you understand what did page 5 and your 12 and 24-month reporting deadlines really look like. So with that information, that is my big summary of all things STEM OPT. We can get really nuanced and into the weeds on questions you may have about your specific case in a STEM extension appointment. But this is really just good basic information that you have. If you think of any questions or concerns, please feel free to jump onto live chat or reach out to us at the ISS email, and we will see how we can help you the best we can. And we look forward to seeing you at your STEM OPT appointment soon. Thanks for meeting with me today. Bye-bye.